Hello and welcome to the Practical Leadership Podcast, where I interview great leaders and try to extract their wisdom and experience for you to learn from and hopefully avoid making their mistakes. Check out practical-leadership.academy because you want to help your new managers succeed with hybrid or remote working. Dr. Pat, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I love being here. It's going to be fun.
So you're a fantastic person. No, I don't say that to all the girls. I really don't. But you are a mentor, a coach, a lifestyle strategist. You've been a physician. Now, that's not an easy thing. A physician for 3.5 decades. That's like almost older than me. No. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I love to help people. I thrive and I like to see people thrive as their ultimate goal. Making massive differences in people's lives matter to me. And one of the reasons why I still do what I do is because besides making those massive difference, it's easy for me, a God-given gift, is to be able to synthesize and make things simple, so that when people have challenges, I can help them get to their goal safer, quicker, and with more simpler solutions to make sure they stay unstuck and they can reach all the goals that they want to have in their life.
So in the context of the things that I like to talk about, and you're here, so I get to ask the questions. I deeply believe, and I advise everybody that I coach and mentor, that the first person that they have to take care of and pay attention to is themselves. Now that's both physically and mentally. Mentally, because the person that listens to us most is us. So our self-track, our self-talk has to be positive, it has to be meaningful, and it has to be consistently good for us. It's too easy to be negative. And physically, frankly, if you allow me to misquote the title of your last best-selling book, why am I fat, sick, and lazy? Well, I have to look after myself before I can look after other people. It's going to be physically good, mentally good. Help me out here, Dr. Pat.
Well, you have to know your bottom line. And a lot of people don't understand what their bottom line is anymore. And that's that line of, go back to basics. If you ask people what their basics are, they really don't know what basic health is really all about. So that's what, when you're looking at like where to start, or like, why am I all this exhausted at 2:00 in the afternoon? Or I feel like I need sugar or something. I crave something sweet at 10:00 and at 4:00. And why do I feel like I need to go down and take a nap, go outside and hug a tree and meditate, and get some fresh air, is because we don't know what our bottom lines are. We don't know what it takes to truly be healthy and how to acclimate that and, ignite that switch underneath that so that we can do those things that are basic for us consistently so that we get better results.
So what are the things that I need to be doing consistently to get those better results before I can reach out and look after the people that I am charged with looking after?
Well, I think we had a conversation where I told you that my father always said, you can't nurture somebody else without nurturing yourself first. And you have to be able to, like when you're in an airplane and those yellow things come down for oxygen, they don't tell you to put them on everyone else first as a parent. They tell you to put yours on first. And if someone's struggling, you put them on second. There's a reason for that, right? And it's because you have to have that strength, and you have to have that foundation and stability to be able to help others. Because when you do that, you're able to think better, feel better, move better, and you're able to live longer and with an easier fashion than always be feeling like you're going on a treadmill or a hamster kind of wheel in going uphill. So when you have that, there's more blessings for not only you, but everybody else around you.
So what are the component parts then that we can break this down to? I mean, I'm looking here for, as I said, we're looking for like a how-to, right? Make this easy for everybody. But where do we start? What are the bits?
So you have to understand what health is and what health isn't. So health is being at your peak performance all the time, mind, body, and soul, or spirit, whatever you want to call it. And when you do that, you have to look at, what are the components that I have going for me. You have to have a positive mindset and a positive mental attitude, and you have to couple that with superior wellness initiatives, which for me, when I'm looking at the definition of health that I just said, I'm paring that down to diet, exercise, sleep, proper mental attitude. I'm mentioning that twice because it's so important. And also properly functioning nervous system and proper posture, because you can't have a properly functioning nervous system if you have a poor posture. Ultimately something's got to give. So
I'm just sitting up straight
pillars,
here, just to make sure I'm, yes, like my mother always said, sit up straight, Martin. There we go.
Everybody does that. When we talk about posture, you can see people shift in their seats as they're all of a sudden they're aware of it. And a lot of people we get, especially like take a drive down the M5, right? And all you have to do, or the 25, and just look in the car next to you, the person's slumped over with their head leaning forward. Well, your head weighs about like the size of a small bowling ball, which is about 11 pounds. And so, try carrying that bowling ball around with you in that position all the time. Your body's going to adapt to that. And it's just like, as opposed to adapting to something that's more structurally sound. Structure is function. Yeah.
So diet, exercise, sleep, PMA, positive mental attitude.
Mental attitude.
I love that, positive mental attitude. Nervous system and posture. Diet, I think. Well, let's take us on a journey. Let's go for diet.
Okay, so how when I'm teaching those 5 pillars, I always start with positive mental attitude. And each time that I'm coaching with somebody and we're going through that process, because you have to know you have total control of what goes in your mouth. And if you eat poor things, you will eventually damage your intestinal tract. And if you do that, then you're going to have a whole host of other things happen. That's a whole nother episode on your podcast. But ideally, you want to, eat really well, have superior nutrition, so that you can assimilate the things that you eat so your body can utilize them properly. So when you have, and that portion is like, no sugars. I mean, sugar is really, and all research relates back to inflammation. It's more addictive than cocaine. So getting sugar out of your diet is a very good thing to do, and doing it consistently. Other things for the diet is just like, hydration. You need hydration for every pillar of the health that I spoke about. Good guy, because it helps detoxify toxins. It helps you sleep better, as long as you're not drinking a liter of water before you go to bed. But some people do that because they're trying to get that number in. And how how much water you drink, and I don't know it in your metric system, but it's 50% of your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, which is around 72 kilos, I think, then you need to have 50% of that, and which would be 75 ounces of water a day.
I want to do the maths here.
Okay, go ahead.
75 fluid ounces in liters is 2 liters. There you go.
Okay. So it helps you, digest your food. It helps you sleep better. It helps you bathe your body so that it has the hydration that it needs. A lot of injuries that people have, physical injuries they have, are because of dehydration. So, and then a lot of people say they don't like water. So what can you do? Drink it with a straw. Put some lemon juice in it from fresh lemon. Simple solutions that you can do so that you can get the amount of water that you need a day for all functions of your body. And then eat really clean. I mean, look at when you eat something and an hour and a half later, you're tired or exhausted, you got to take a look at the food that you ate just in that last meal, so that you'll say, like, what was it that I ate that made me totally wipe me out? And I feel like I have to go home and I didn't need to take a nap, or have brain fog, like you have brain fog, that type of thing. It all relates, back to diet. So it's a key component, but in order to do the diet correctly and be consistent, you have to have the mindset for it, in order to be successful, and having that mindset and the positive mental attitude about how I'm going to do it. I intermittent fast. I do it for 18 hours at a time. And So, but the key components in making, here's a real good trick and tip. In order to make intermittent fasting really work better, and have even better results, you have to hydrate. So getting all that hydration in during that, time span, not the eating time span, but the whole, 24-hour type thing is essential to making the intermittent fasting portion of it work even better.
Do you know that? You've just enlightened me, because I do that too. I've been doing this for a few years now. And I'm sitting here with a big pint glass of water. Weird enough, we're in liters and miles and kilometer meters and centimeter inches here. The UK is one of those wonderful messed up places when it comes to measurements. So I'm sitting here with a pint glass, half a liter, whatever it is. And the days when I'm doing the intermittent fasting and I'm drinking like crazy are great. The days when I'm not, I struggle. I never thought about it. It was something as simple as hydration. There you go. I've come away smarter already, Dr. Pat. I love it. Okay, PMA, diet, then where we on to?
So exercise, a lot of people,
Okay.
I have a rule called the rule of one. And so when people first start to go exercise, it's actually getting out there. So like people who even have brain trauma and that type of thing. So just getting out and moving and doing one thing, like walking one block, or if you live in a building and you have crappy weather and it's raining all the time, you can take the steps up. You don't have to take the steps if you live on the third floor. You don't have to take steps all the way up to the third floor. Just take them up to the first floor and then get on the elevator. No one's going to know. And it's just like, that, who's going to know? It's like, no one's going to know except you, but you can celebrate anytime you have a win, for that. And being able to take care of yourself and having the energy to sustain you through even your toughest day is really important to have. So these tips that we're doing right now they're essential. And they're so simple.
The celebration. I love the celebration. There was a guy, I think he was a neuroscientist from, forgive me, I can't remember, BJ Fogg, and he was talking about tiny habits and his idea of trying to fit new habits in with old ones, and a way of celebrating the micro successes by physically patting yourself in the back, smiling a big cheery smile, yes, and just say, way to go, Paul, look, you sharpened 3 pencils this morning, yay. Whatever your goal happens to be, you micro celebrate, you do that, and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds.
It does. And a lot of people, we forget to celebrate, our wins on a regular basis, because sometimes, you're solo. You don't have a boyfriend, you don't have a husband, you don't have, and you're, somebody asked me one time about meeting my friends. I said, they're all around the world. If you want to buy a ticket, I know exactly where we should go first, type of thing, because when I went to school, a lot of my colleagues are international. They're not, in the United States in my backyard, kind of thing. But, but in doing things in your life, you have to have, that mindset part of it, and know which part of your brain is trying to derail you is really important. So back to the PMA part of it, because the exercise, you could just go out and walk. You can walk. My rule is, don't want to exercise, don't have to go to a gym. All you have to do is walk as fast as you can, as far as you can, for as long as you can. That's my solution. Do it once a day,
Wonderful.
and it's simple. So if that means taking a walk for 10 minutes around the block, doing the step thing that we talked about before. So when we talk about the brain now, that to jumping into that component out of the 5 and that mindset part of it, you've got to know which part of your brain's talking to you. So it's really divided into 3 brains. So there's a primitive brain, which I call the lizard brain. There's the mammalian brain, and there's your conscious brain. So you were born with the primitive brain, and the primitive brain is always trying to save you from something. And from the saber-toothed tiger, it's always the one that's going to go like, "Oh, thinks it's time to get out of here," and the beat hoof. It's for fight. It's for fornication. It's for all those things that are basic instinctual things. That also can play against you, especially when you're playing out things that happen to you in your life. Because when you have an event happen, the emotional component of that event is stored in the mammalian brain. And so if it's a bad event, then it's stored there. That's why you say like, oh, I don't date men like, I don't date those kind of people. It's because I've had so many bad experiences. My brain, my mammalian brain said that's it. Or I don't want to go into that profession, or I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to lead a segment with my group of management people because I don't feel comfortable in that, because my experience was when I was in college, I gave a talk and everyone laughed. So I don't have, and it's just buried super, super deep in you. So unless you start creating new experiences that are positive and then weigh heavy on those positive experiences, so the other experiences diminish, the mammalian brain is always chatting with the lizard brain, because it's going, oh, don't forget.
Keep you safe.
Remember
Keep
that.
me safe.
Remember that time, and then it also talks with the conscious brain. So when you're in your conscious brain is where you do your affirmations, and you do all those positive like sayings that you have the sticker on the bathroom window. I am James Bond 007, and things like that. I have Jane though, not James, so. When you're looking at your conscious brain is telling you, I am, I can, I will, I must, and I am awesome. I'm a leader, I'm a doctor, I'm a leader. I help sick people get well and help well people to maintain their wellness so they can go out and they can be bigger and better than they ever thought possible and make them even more awesome. But if I didn't have that conscious brain telling me that, I would have never made it through chiropractic school. Because there are times when I have was studying indoor acupuncture college, and where I studied with herbs and the Chinese medicine at the same time, the Oriental medicine. As in England, you either studied one or the other. In the States, you can study both at the same time. And I studied in Mandarin. So my brain was really fried when I finished that course, but be able to relate that to that, it was such an enriching experience that I have another tool I can help support people have even a better foundation, because you have to know what your foundation is.
So you studied in Mandarin?
I studied formulas in Mandarin.
很好, very good. Very nice.
And I was able, because they said you could study in English or you could study in Mandarin. I thought I would like to, learn something. I don't know how good of an idea that was, because there's some things that I understand. I can read it for formulations. But and I know when I see certain words, like, oh, that number means white and also means the number 8. It just depends on how that one word is used in a sentence. It's just like, what does white and 8 have to do with each other? It's nothing, but in the Chinese symbolism, it does, and so that was a big, that big part of it used up a lot of brain power for me at that time. But to stay focused on that, I just thought it was, if I was going to and my reasoning was, if I was going to send somebody with a script to a Chinese pharmacy, I wanted to be able to write it out in pinyin so the person who was reading it would know what it is, as opposed to doing it the other way around.
So we've had positive mental attitude, diet, and exercise. What's next?
Sleep. And so sleep is essential. And one of the ways to get good sleep, a lot of people are sleep deprived. It's an epidemic.
I think most people are. I don't understand how people can get by in less than 11 hours a night.
Yeah. Well, maybe not 11.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
But the average is 7 to 8. For some people, it's 9. But and some people don't. They're up in the middle of the night and they're doing stuff. And it's that light stimulation. It's like the light that I have on for here right now. I would never have that light on after like 9 o'clock at night. And so I'm really conscious about, there's glasses that you can wear during the daytime. Like, in France, they have the shields over the lights that are yellow. They sell glasses that have that same kind of yellow tint, are really good for bright light. And amber ones are really good for night light. So that if you're watching TV, so it doesn't stimulate the body to think it's up, it's early when it's not. And phones.
I think phones seem to be a thing. Everybody's got their phones in their bedrooms.
They should turn their phone on to
off
airplane.
Yeah.
Because it emits electromagnetic radiation, and so I have on my necklace a thing that is an EMF blocker, and I wear it all the time
Hmm.
I rarely, only time I don't have this on is if I'm taking a shower. But this is a device, and they also have them for telephones that you can have a sticker on the back. There's an R2
Mhm.
that is a sticker that goes on the back of your telephone that blocks electromagnetic radiation because it affects how you sleep in your bedroom, and and also you don't need your telephone on unless you're expecting an emergency, and you can put it on airplane mode in order to shut down that blasting that you're getting right near your head. So, and also having the room dark. I mean, you want to have a room dark. Some people it doesn't bother them, but a majority of people who have a difficult time sleeping always talk about how dark the room is. And having a bed that supports you so that when you're laying on it, we have curves in our body, and some beds are so hard, you're falling into the bed as opposed to the bed coming up and supporting you. So that is a big thing too. And also looking at the clock. So you turn off the TV, turn off the things that that might be too stimulating for the brain so the brain can function better, like when you're sleeping, because that's when the brain detoxifies. And that's when melatonin is at its highest. It surges when you're going into deep sleep. There's 4 stages of sleep. 1 and 2 is when you kind of think you want to go to sleep, then you're kind of feeling just moment. Everybody, when I explain this to people, I like one moment that you just kind of like you're up and you're still starting to fall asleep, and you can feel your eyes like you're falling into that first higher phase. And the phase 3 is that sleep pattern where it's deep sleep. And that's where you revitalize, you repair, for the next day to be able to hit the ground running. If you get up and go to the bathroom and you have a hard time, going back to sleep, then you haven't got into the right sleep in order to do that. And if you get awoken during the deep phase of sleep, that's when people woke up. You ever take a nap and wake up and going, where the heck am I? That feeling, everyone's done that. And it takes you about a half hour or something like that to get back into mode. It's because you woke up, you slept too long on your nap.
Hmm.
The naps should be no longer than 30 minutes. So you set your timer for 30 minutes so that you wake up, and if you want to wake up to it in a really cool way, it's just count out when that timer goes off, shut it off and count out from 1 to 5, talking to yourself and doing the affirmation, I'm going to count to 5, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to wake up feeling better than ever before, wide awake, on my number and moving forward, and you say 4, 5, eyes wide open, you're up, get
Yep.
moving, and you jump out of bed. It's amazing when when your brain, your body starts listening to your conscious brain when it's telling you those things like that. It works really well. And when you're sleeping, and as soon as you close your eyes, you're in a delta kind of mode anyway, so that you're more suggestive to positive things like that. So that's why people listen to meditation tapes during that time so they can get the best rest possible. And sometimes you can meditate for 20 minutes in that realm, 20, 30 minutes, and wake up as if you had a full night's sleep. And so that's why the importance of napping under that sleep title is really, really important, in order to get there. I have tons of other tips, for that piece. I've taught a lot of sleep retreats and that type of thing.
Okay, this is turning out to be a wonderful package. Positive mental attitude, diet, exercise, sleep. Bring us home. Number 5.
Bring us home on, that structure is function. And, when you have good structure, you'll have good function. A year ago, I was practicing in a guy's office and covering for him while he was on vacation. And this kid who was 21 years old couldn't bend over and touch his knees. He was 6'2" and couldn't because he sits at a computer all day long, schlumped. And and so there you go again. And so structures function. So when we hold ourselves up, we have micro muscles doing their exercising at the time. There's a way for people to do deep breathing, because when people and what it does is it helps keep the strength of the pelvic floor. And that's that deep breath in where when you breathe in and deeply, your diaphragm should go down, which activates the muscles around the waistline, which is a natural way to shape your waist. Again, if you're in that intermittent fasting thing, just do 5 or 10 of them a day. It's not hard. And, when you breathe in, push down, hold it, and let it go. That breath is really important, It helps all those. It's the reason why you do two things for endurance and strength and flexibility. Having that core strength is so essential to being healthy and having your organs function as high as possible, because no one ever knows. I mean, part of the definition of health in Webster Merriam Dictionary or Merriam-Webster's dictionary is that health is your organs are functioning 100% of the time, but nobody knows that. But this helps you, make the fluids in your body, that breathing, move up and down and bathe all your organs that need to be bathed. It's just the little things. And structure, I mean, when you look at somebody who, when I was in high school, the nuns used to make us put books on our heads and walk across the room for posture training.
Yes.
And that's because we needed to learn how to stand up. We need to know that when we backed ourselves up to the wall, that the space between the small of your back and the wall should only be as thick as your hand here. And so that's what it should be. And also people look so much healthier, and they look like they have vitality. They look attractive, and people are attracted to people who have very good posture.
How do we who sit at our desks all bloody day, how do we fix our posture, Dr. Pat? How can we train ourselves better?
Well, the front of you are flexors, when that's what you're exercising when you're sitting. You're exercising your extensors when you are standing. So you can do things like if you had a desk, if you have a desk.
Can't see it on the podcast, but I'm actually doing, go to YouTube and watch the video. All right, so here we go.
Okay. So if you have if you're standing up and you take your hands and put them next to you, and then you turn your hands so your thumbs are up behind your back, okay, and pull your hands all the way back up. Pull your arms so no. So your arms are straight, and you just put them up behind you.
That way.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And then you just can hold that position and then try to put your thumbs together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't bend your arms.
Oh.
You're cheating.
Oh. Hang on, I'm gonna go that way.
So it's and keep your chin up. Always look where you're going.
Okay.
When you're doing an exercise, always look where you're going. And so
I can feel that.
Yes. And it's just like it will tone up all the back of your arm. The other thing too is that before you get out of bed in the morning, something that you can do, it takes only seconds to do, is you take your pillow out, you bend your knees up so your feet are flat, but they're close to your butt. And you press your head into the mattress. And you don't press it with your chin down or up. It's just flat head to the mattress, and you'll feel it. And then you slightly turn your head to the right, do the same thing, come back to the center, and then turn to the left and do it. So it's 3 positions: center, right, left, and do 10 of those a day before you get out of bed. Right? But you're going to be pressing your head against the mattress.
Yeah, I can visualize that.
I sometimes do it at a red light in my car. It's like if I'm traveling, because I'll notice that car thing, like I'm not sitting up straight. The other thing to do, since you're in that position, is get your elbows really tight in towards your waistline, and then do a reverse bridge where you're lifting your butt up off the bed in that reverse bridge position, and hold that for 10 seconds and then do a minimum of 4 of them. And that's with your knees apart. When you get good at it, you can do it with your knees together. But when they're apart, what that does is it triggers your extensor muscles that help you stand up straight. It's a simple, and it also is very good. I have given that out so many times to people who have low back problems. Because a lot of times they're going, oh my God, I'm so stiff in the morning when I'm getting up out of bed. Do that first, and then that stiffness will start to go away, because your core strength around where your spine meets your sacrum is going to start getting stronger with doing that. So those are your extensions, and it triggers out your glutes and your hamstring, because you can't do that pick your butt up part unless you have strong extensors. But it's a great little exercise to do it every day, and then it's like one and done.
What was your dad saying?
My dad's name is John.
No, it was my son's name. What was his saying? Was it your father's saying?
If you don't, not my father. If you don't nurture yourself, you can't nurture somebody else.
Right. If you don't nurture yourself, you can't nurture anyone else. Positive mental attitude, diet, exercise, sleep, posture. My goodness.
It's this 5 pillars of health, and what I help people do is look at where the weakest link is in that. And I help them, correct that. And then we look at, how that mindset affects all aspects of their life so they can reach their greatest goals in less time. And that's what I help executives and entrepreneurs with.
So what are you working on right now?
Well, I just finished authoring a collaboration and a book that's coming to publish. And it is called Deck of Cards. And my understanding is I am the Jack of Diamonds or the Jack of Hearts in that deck. And what we talk about in there is, the idea of like how to, there are tips, and in the book, there are tips for business and health to be even better and to get more out of your own personal life and how you contribute that to others.
That sounds fantastic. When's it out?
They're like finishing up with, I think I need about maybe like 8 or 9 more people, something like that. And then when that's done, they'll come together. So I would probably say maybe in a couple months, could be, I'm not really sure, but it will be coming out. And when I do that, I will certainly post it in the appropriate places. But it was fun to do because, you're thinking that 500 words is because that's what their chapter title is, like right around that. You think that 500 words is like, oh, that'll be easy. It was tough. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. But it was really, it would just span a portion of where do I start? Because I'm always talking about where to start, and going back to basics and your foundation. So it was part of that, and but how do I get to that other part of the high performance health? Because sometimes you need help. Sometimes, hiring that coach with a mentor's heart, or the mentor or the coach, whatever works for you, is something really important, because then you can expedite that time, and exactly where to spend that time, your energy and your money, and you can get it done faster, safer and simpler. That's what, that's all about.
Following on from that, how do you help people? How can people find you? How can we come and knock on your door and say, Dr. Pat, I need you?
Dr. Pat, I need you to come to the UK.
Yes.
We're going to have a retreat. Yeah. So people can find me on LinkedIn under Dr. Pat Boulogne. I have a Facebook page, that's the link at the end of facebook.com is Ask Dr. Pat. But LinkedIn and Instagram are the same. For some reason, Facebook won't let me change that. And so I'm not arguing with them anymore about those kinds of things. But those are 3 ways to specifically find me. And then, also on my website, healththeamnetwork.com, I just published my website. There's still some glyphic, a little bit of glitches here and there in it, but for all intents and purposes, the information's there that people can find out more, be able to reach out to me. On the front page, there's my favorite part of this website is on the front page, there is a microphone. And if you click on that microphone and record your question, it comes to me directly.
I love that. That's great. Well, I'm going to put links to all of these things in the notes here. Mm-hmm. On the YouTube and on the podcast and the blog post as well. So you'll be able to find Dr. Pat wherever you want her. Can I ask you one final question as we wrap up? What would you like to thank the young pre-Dr. Pat for doing?
Being persistent.
Persistence. Mm-hmm.
Persistent and inconsistent. Because that's when I've asked people, I had a homework assignment one time and go, ask your friends and family, tell them that they don't have to sign in or whatever. Just ask them what their 5 words that they would use to describe you, and one of the words, I always call these your superpowers, right? I'm incredibly trustworthy. I make sense of convoluted and challenging situations for people. I'm persistent and I'm very consistent. And, and I just love to see people thrive, so there's just get a lot of joy from seeing people, succeed and win.
Dr. Pat Boulogne, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. I loved it. It was such a great time.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me today. Your homework is to leave your 5-star review, and please, any comments you have, you really help me to improve every day. And it also helps people to discover me online. You should check out practical-leadership.academy, because you want to help your new managers succeed with hybrid or remote working.